Welcome back to the Leadership Forum, a space where corporate leaders share insightful takes on the human side of ingenuity. I'm Saquib Vali, explorer. Say hi to the future. The leader with us today is Urooj Faisal, Vice President, Commercial Financial Services at RBC. Urooj is an experienced banking professional with extensive understanding of both personal and business banking products and services, with an innate desire to tread the unknown and embrace change. Welcome, Urooj, and thank you for taking time out from your well-banked schedule.
Thank you so much, Saquib, for inviting me to be part of your podcast. I look forward to our conversation, and thank you for that introduction. Much appreciated.
All right, Urooj. So let's let our listeners hear in your voice how you would introduce yourself to them and give us a sense of the macro picture, with interest rates, with respect to investing decisions for your clients, and throw some light on the healthcare sector as you're seeing it play out.
So, introducing myself, Saquib, I came to Canada as an immigrant, and I started my professional journey from the ground up, like many immigrants do. In my early years in my new home, I worked in retail and insurance. It was not till 4 years into the time in Canada that I joined my current employer, Royal Bank of Canada. And the role I started was an entry level role at a branch, which marked the beginning of my long and fulfilling journey with the organization. 19 years so far, and still some time left in me to go. And over the past 19 years, I've been very fortunate to work under amazing leaders and mentors and peers and team members who have guided me and shaped my growth within this organization. I've had the opportunity to work across various verticals within RBC, which has not only honed into my leadership style, but also allowed me to understand the organization's goals at a broader macro level. Regarding the banking industry, there's much happening right now, a lot of change. We're all excited about the recent interest rate cuts, and it's expected to have a few more. I've always wanted to be in commercial banking. Saquib, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I think it was in my blood. And I've been around. I've worked in wealth management and personal banking, but my aim was always to get to commercial. So really happy I'm here, and a very exciting specialization that I'm working in healthcare. I do believe there's a lot of demand for healthcare. It's a demanding subspecialization. Our clients are obviously very qualified. It's a sector which every bank follows closely because of the enterprise value of this subspecialization. But it's been a lot of fun. 1 year as a VP for healthcare. Also for myself, I think I consider myself as an optimist, Saquib, right? I'm an optimist at heart, and I'm always focused on opportunities that the future holds. Rather really being anchored by the past. And I think that's important when you are a new immigrant. You have to really think about what's ahead, how do you adapt, and not really think about what you left behind, right? So for me, life is about looking ahead, embracing change, continuously striving to make things better. I genuinely value feedback because it helps me grow and evolve, and I'm always looking and seeking ways to improve both myself and the work I do. Ultimately, I hope that I leave a legacy of positive impact, lifting up people around me and contributing to something greater than myself.
Oh my God, there's so much. There is so much to unpack in there. But I mean, we'll get into a few things. But one of the statements you just made, Urooj, kudos to you, hats off to you. And it's, yes, we might say it within the immigrant story, but frankly it works everywhere, which is run to something versus running from something. Be an optimist. It's also the statement you made was look forward versus what you left behind, right? And I think a lot of these are powerful lessons for our listeners, for many people who would be listening to this. And so thank you for sharing that. I do think that there's an element within your story that I think is worth getting into, which is, and it might not be just in the 4 years that you faced, but also the path you've taken and where you read so far. You know, Ruj, one of the human conditions that we at Say Hi to the Future explore is resilience. Let me give you the floor. Speak to stories of resilience from your professional journey and how that has prepared and formed you as a well recognized leader in the industry.
Thank you for that question. Saqib, very early in my career with RBC, I had received some very direct and difficult feedback from a leader that really challenged me. The feedback wasn't really particularly in line with my personality, but it stemmed from how I was trained to think, coming from a different cultural background as an immigrant. I grew up in an environment where certain ways of communicating and handling situation was the norm, but that didn't align with the expectations in my new workplace. You see, as we are adapting to our workplace, many times our workplace is adapting to us as well, right? And they're really learning about the experiences, that we bring in to the local market. But that was the defining moment really for my career and also for me personally, because that moment forced me to reflect deeply, and I realized how critical it is to be resilient when receiving feedback. Instead of taking it personally, I learned to see feedback as a gift, as an opportunity for growth. It helped me understand that adaptability is key, especially when you're navigating new environments. I need to embrace discomfort and become comfortable in those moments. And over the time, this mindset really has helped me to strive in stressful situations by just being open to change and learning from feedback. I've been able to evolve both personally and professionally, just always striving to do my best, even when the pressure is on. That early lesson taught me that resilience and adaptability are essential, especially in this fast-paced, evolving world, and especially when you're changing your environments, like you mentioned, like being an immigrant, right? So being adaptable, taking feedback, not being afraid of being uncomfortable, that's all very, very important. And I think coaching the environment around us, that we're different, but we have value. We bring a lot of value. I think that's very important. It's key.
You know, so far, we've had lots of guests who, and in different ways, have spoken about resilience. The one that I'm not so sure I've heard so far, which is really insightful, that while you are embracing change and being resilient, so is your organization embracing that same sort of change. They're also learning from, and let's give a shout out to RBC. RBC is one of those organizations that has over
Mhm.
time taken a risk on quite a few different kinds of people. That, I mean, you have introduced me to so many people at RBC and how they are. And I must say, so are many other large organizations in Canada. Like, I know quite a few people, and within the banking sector, frankly, whether that be TD, whether that be BDC, whether that be RBC. But I think overall, there is this whole notion of, yes, we have to change, but so are our work organizations and cultures changing along with us. Say a bit more about how does that juxtaposition and interaction happen? When do you know that you are the one who has to change, and where is it that you put your weight a bit to say, no, this is where the organization should be changing a bit? So, any thoughts around there? I think that's a great thought to start with.
Saqib, I've always been a champion for diversity, but a lot of time we talk a lot about diversity, but we don't understand what does inclusive mean, right? When we, even within our own departments, like I can tell you that when I am working in a different vertical of the bank, and we bring in somebody who has a different kind of experience, we have to allow them time, right? We need people to adjust and adapt and learn. We can't expect people coming from a different experience, from different cultural background, a different way of thinking to change right away. It is up to us as leaders to ensure that we've empowered them, we've enabled them, we've given them clarity, and then we work with that motivation, right? It's important that we allow people time. I think that is what is key, and that is what for me has worked with my leaders, is that showing as somebody coming from outside that I'm coachable, I'm here to learn. I am I'm a keen listener and a keen learner, but at the same time, they also allowed me that feedback and they gave me that time. So I think time is important. You have to give people, you can't expect somebody to just come in and start off performing, right? That patience is important. I've read a lot of books, and I'm like, there's so many stories about being inclusive, right? Like, very quickly, I'll share a story I read in a book. I forgot the name of the book, but it was about this author saying that, and I shared the story so many times. So, some of the listeners may actually, who know me from before, will say, oh, Ruth has already told us the story. So this guy bought a new house and he had a pond in the background, in the backyard. And he wanted to put some fish in that pond. And, he's always wanted to have trout. So he went to the fish farm and he got some trout. The fish farmer asked him, so tell me a little bit about the conditions, where is the pond, what kind of light comes in, are there any vegetation around? And he gives the entire spiel around, this is how it is. And he said, you know what? Trout is a very resilient fish, but you'll have to make some changes in that pond. So guy is very excited. He brings the fish, he puts the fish in the pond, but then he forgets to do what other stuff he was supposed to do. After a few days, he saw some, bubbles coming on the pond and he ignored it. And then a few days later, when he went, he saw they had all perished. The trout had, died. And he was upset, obviously. And he went back to the fish farmer and he asked, this is what happened. The fish farmer said that because you didn't create that environment for the fish, the trout, to really prosper, the fish had to perish. And those bubbles were basically indications. They were saying, come check us out, do something about it. I think that story is so powerful when we come to the same thing in our workplace around people. People are asking for help, right? They give us indications, they show us signs that we need help. Come give us some help, right? Like we need some coaching, we need some support. When we ignore it, even the most resilient and the most, the strongest, the best of talent is not able to perform because we're unable to see those signs. I think that story kind of sums up that how it is important for us to see those signs, to give people time, and just create that inclusive environment.
That is a very powerful story, and I can understand and I can see the emotion that comes with it in how you're narrating it. Generally speaking, the three areas that I've always spoken about from a leadership standpoint is um, a leader's role is to read the climate, create the conditions, and value contributions.
Mm-hmm.
We are so enamored by just the outcomes, but honestly, the outcomes are a byproduct. Outcomes are not necessarily what you chase. What you chase are the behaviors, which are about reading the climate, creating the conditions, and valuing the contributions. I think so. Clearly, I'm glad that you are on that journey, and frankly, just as fortunate that you are in an organization that values that same thing as well. So, kudos to you, and thanks for sharing that.
Welcome.
How about we talk a bit about ingenuity, especially the human side of ingenuity, because there's a lot of innovation that must be happening right now, even in terms of the changing landscape from a real estate from an interest rate standpoint, but also in how healthcare is transforming. So, I'd love to get your leadership take on ingenuity and, more importantly, the human side of ingenuity as it relates to you, your organization's success. What's your take, Urooj? When has it worked well? When has it not? What have you learned along the way?
Another really good topics. For me, Saqib, human ingenuity often shines through collaboration and partnership. And to be honest, mentoring has been pivotal in my journey towards personal and professional success. So when I think about ingenuity, I don't think about individual creativity or problem solving. For me, it's all about recognizing the power of relationships and learning from others. For me, throughout the different roles I've had in my organization and even before, by partnering with diverse individuals, I've been able to leverage different perspectives, experiences, strengths and skills and capabilities that I may not have on my own. And this approach has allowed me to tackle challenges more effectively, to meet my goals, sometimes in record time. It wasn't just me, because I had a lot of support from partners and different people I collaborated with. And then mentoring. I don't think we understand the power of mentoring, right? I think mentoring, it can really accelerate your growth and your career progression. And for me, mentoring has been a huge part of my success. I've always sought out mentors who could provide me guidance and help me navigate unfamiliar territory. Their experiences allowed me to learn faster and to avoid common pitfalls. And at the same time, I have also found great fulfillment in mentoring others. It's a two-way street where in helping others succeed, you gain fresh perspectives and it reinforces your own understanding of what it takes to thrive. So that's really my take on ingenuity. But on the flip side, ingenuity hasn't worked sometimes when you underestimate the human element, right? So say for example, early in my leadership journey, sometimes I focus too much on the solution without fully engaging the team or understanding the reservations and concerns of the people who are supposed to be running with that innovative idea. And in those instances, even the most well thought out ideas struggle to gain traction and the results are less effective because you did not really get the buy-in, right, from the people, the team. So in essence, ingenuity doesn't exist in isolation. It's about knowing when to seek collaboration, how to be adaptable, valuing the shared learning that comes through partnerships and mentorships. And also understanding the emotional intelligence, having that emotional intelligence, right? Having that empathetic piece for your team and people around you. So yeah, in short, that is really my take on ingenuity. I hope that makes sense.
That's great. No, I love it. And frankly, the whole idea here is for each guest to come in and give us their take. So, I'm sure our listeners are going to glean insights out of this and take whatever they feel worthwhile keeping and going ahead with. And I think this whole notion of ingenuity is not just a process, it's a human relationship. So awesome. How about leadership itself? What do you look for, groom for, and nurture in the people you hire and surround yourself with?
So for me, my approach in leadership is really rooted in trust and empowerment, which naturally fosters high performance. I believe in enablement by, removing obstacles and creating an environment where people can thrive and deliver their best work. Saquib, I believe that everyone wants to perform, right? Everyone comes to work to perform well. And that allows me to trust in people's capabilities. And then in that trust encourages autonomy and builds confidence in people. So it's really important to have a clear vision how to inspire people and have the team to rally behind those shared goals, which creates motivation that goes beyond task completion and really taps into purpose.
Very well said. And let's switch a bit to specifically the work that you do every single day, which is So what's your advice to business leaders trying to navigate this current economic cycle, in how you're having the conversations with potential clients or current clients?
So I do think it goes back to what I've said around collaboration, right? Like I think our clients are amazing at the work they do. Like I deal with healthcare professionals. They're very intelligent, smart, qualified people. They're amazing at what they do, which is healthcare. And I think it's the trust in your financial institution and your partners to give you the advice. And I would recommend that engage your financial advisor early, right? Like you're planning to make that big purchase, engage your advisor early. I think collaboration again is key, and trust, build that trust between you and your advisor. And we're here to support our people. We grow when they grow.
Let's flip this around, Urooj. So obviously, this is how you're working with your clients. How about when you turn and come inside RBC and speaking to leadership, your leadership? How are you being the voice of your clients as you influence the internal workings of RBC?
Saquib, I think it's so important, first of all, to understand the values of the organization, the vision of the organization, to understand the risk appetite of, the workplace, and align yourself with that. And then when you're going out and meeting clients, how do you provide that advice which comes across as a strategic advisor? Like you need to be a strategic advisor. Once you have that, I think you can be a great negotiator between, what is your clients asking for and what is the organization's goals. And then you become this amazing negotiator, and you're able to provide that feedback to your executives, to your office, the bank, and give that feedback to how ensure that we maintain market leadership and continue to win market share. So I think being that understanding, aligning your goals with the organization goals, understanding the goals of your client, and being a good negotiator, I think that is what really helps you find success.
Let's get a story of your amazing negotiation. So give us an example or a story where your client had a certain need, which you felt was the right need, and you had to come inside and negotiate on both sides. And just play it out for us so our listeners can actually learn from your real workings every single day.
There's so many stories, right? In these 19 years, I've collected so many stories. But one thing I'll tell you, Saquib, there have been times where I actually had to advise my clients against certain lending, because I did not believe that I was setting my client up for success. And, later on, those clients came back to me and said, you were the only organization that advised us against. And we went somewhere else and we got the funding. I'm not going to say an organization. I don't think it's organization. It's really about people,
Sure.
right? I really
Sure.
think it's the individuals, and that was not the right advice for them. And then there have been times where I had to really push and fight with the organization for certain situations where I was like, I believe in this client. I believe in this file, and I really need to push it forward. And we've had situations where, doing that kind of homework, that discovery, that business casing, an impossible file got to the finish line because of that banker's gut. I think every banker has a banker's gut, and you have to listen to your gut, right? Like, what is your gut telling you? If your gut is telling you no, then it's probably a no. And you just have to figure out why it's a no. You have to balance risk, right? Saquib, it's so important that we are not too conservative and not too aggressive. Like, you have to find that nice balance. There's never perfection. I still have to come across like that perfect situation where it's like everything is like just check, 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 right? And so yeah, I think it's about doing your homework, doing the right kind of discovery, being that negotiator, having client centricity, but at the same time also assessing risk in a way where you're not putting the client or the organization at undue, risk, as I said. So, yeah.
Hmm. So I guess the banker's gut is what's going to keep humans still employed at RBC or banks anywhere in the world. Because clearly there are certain situations that it just takes experience and diligence for anyone to really come out with. And back to how you were saying, it's all humans and relationships.
Experience is definitely key, but one of the things that my organization is has identified and worked towards is building those partnerships and providing that support group, right? So, we don't have just one person supporting any client. We have an entire team. It's called the client relationship team. So there's always somebody you can just pull on to get that support and provide that assistance in structuring or navigating a complex situation. So yes, I do agree that experience is invaluable, but I think going back to collaboration and partnership and just honing on to those resources that you have is so important for success.
Your career and your rise has been inspirational for so many people whom I know. We both have known each other for a while, and so with all of that, thank you so much, Aruj, for coming on. This has been
Thank
a
you,
great
Saquib.
conversation. Our listeners would love to hear more from you, so we will tag you and RBC in our show notes.
Thank you so much, Saquib, for giving me this opportunity. This was fun.
I'm glad.